Today, we are diving into a story of survival, a story that stretches back more than 4 centuries. It's all about a culture that faced a systematic attempt to literally erase it from existence. Yet somehow, against all odds, it grew into one of the most powerful and influential forces on the entire planet.
So that leads us to a really fundamental question. How does a culture possibly endure when its languages, its religions, its traditions are all actively suppressed? When families are systematically torn apart and just learning to read is outlawed? How do you survive that?
What, for over 400 years, that has been the defining challenge. And you know what? The ultimate triumph of African American culture. It's a story that's built on a really powerful truth, an enduring presence, a deep-rooted sense that we have been here a long time, weaving this unbreakable thread through the entire American story.
To really get the resilience, we first have to get our heads around the sheer scale of the threat. Starting way back in the 17th century, enslaved Africans who came from countless different cultures and tribes were met with this systematic effort to just sever every single tie to their heritage.
You see, the whole system of enslavement was designed for total cultural destruction. The goal was to erase identity, deny literacy, and enforce absolute control. But it didn't work. For every attempt to strip something away, there was this incredible, resilient reaction. Traditions were kept alive in secret, brand new cultural forms were born right out of defiance, and a powerful oral tradition made sure that history and hope could never, ever be truly erased.
But here's the thing. This culture wasn't just preserved in amber, like some museum piece. No, it was actively transformed. In the crucible of the Americas, it blended with European and indigenous influences to forge something entirely new. Something that would become uniquely and, really, fundamentally American.
And there's actually a word for this: creolization. Now, this isn't about one culture just taking over another. It's a dynamic, creative exchange. Think about the banjo, right? An instrument with African roots that was adapted here in America. Or gumbo, which is this amazing blend of West African okra, Native American filet, and French roux. This constant blending created a culture that would eventually touch every single corner of the globe.
Okay, so think about this for a second. If you make formal education illegal, how on earth do people pass down their history, their knowledge, their hope? The answer was through one of humanity's oldest and most powerful tools, the oral tradition. And what's amazing is you can trace a direct, unbroken line of evolution here. It starts with the West African griot, the traditional keeper of oral history. That tradition was reborn in America. It lived in folk tales like the stories of Brer Rabbit outsmarting his bigger enemies. It was encoded into the melodies of spirituals and the powerful rhythms of sermons. And that same creative DNA, it eventually gave birth to the blues, to jazz, to spoken word poetry, and yep, ultimately to the global phenomenon we know as hip-hop. The great abolitionist Frederick Douglass just captured this perfectly. He explained that spirituals weren't just simple songs. He called them hidden transcripts. So to an outsider, they might sound like Bible stories, but for those on the inside, they were expressions of sorrow, they were prayers for freedom, and sometimes they were even coded maps and instructions for escape. Absolutely brilliant.
Now, this deep spirit of resilience, this cultural wellspring, it wasn't going to stay hidden underground forever. Oh no, it was about to absolutely explode into the public eye through powerful artistic movements that just demanded to be seen and heard.
And the first of these cultural explosions to really grab the whole nation's attention was the Harlem Renaissance. All of a sudden, mainstream America was captivated by the poetry of Langston Hughes, the novels of Zora Neale Hurston, and the revolutionary sounds of jazz. This wasn't just art for survival anymore. This was art as a bold, proud celebration of self.
Then, a few decades later, the political fire of the civil rights movement sparked its own artistic counterpart, the Black Arts Movement. This was explicitly political. It championed a whole new aesthetic that was rooted in racial pride and self-determination. It loudly proclaimed that Black is beautiful, popularizing natural hair and African-inspired fashion, and creating art that spoke directly to and for the Black community. And here's the crucial point. This culture, which was forged in resistance, didn't just stay put. It broke out and went on to profoundly and permanently shape not just America, but the entire world.
I mean, just think about the DNA of modern culture for a second. The entire family tree of popular music, I'm talking blues, rock and roll, R&B, hip-hop, it all grows from these roots. The dances that define generations, the literature that wins Nobel Prizes, the comfort foods that are at the heart of American cuisine, even the slang that we all use every day, it all has a direct line right back to this history.
The sheer scale of this influence is just staggering. You could argue that these cultural forms became America's single greatest and most successful cultural export, period. From a jazz club in Tokyo to a hip-hop battle in Paris, the echoes of this 400-year journey of survival and creation are truly heard everywhere.
And this leaves us with one last, really essential question to think about. If you take away the music, the language, the art, the food, and those 4 centuries of resilience that we've just talked about, what is even left of American culture? It really forces you to recognize that this isn't some separate story. It is the very heart of the story itself.